It's been said that better questions lead us naturally to better answers, and that it's in not knowing that we open the doorway to knowing. I'm Scott Lennox, and you're listening to The Beautiful Question, a consideration of things that truly matter in a complex world. This week's podcast finds me once again in a contemplative retreat in a remote place in New Mexico, where I'm listening to and considering some of the deepest questions anyone can ask. Join me this week as I once again share the questions and leave you to your own answers that can change the quality of life for each of us. As I record this, I can see 90 miles out to the west, all the way to the flat-topped mountain called Cerro Pedernal, Spanish for Flint Hill, on the northern flank of the Jemez Mountains. After nearly a year away, I'm back in New Mexico just north of Taos, enjoying a few days in meditative retreat as I stay in a cabin with a small group of like-minded friends. We'll spend time together, and yet much of my time will be in deep stillness, listening, quietly contemplating, thinking and not thinking, and of course, drawing and painting. It's here on the mountain that the Beautiful Question podcasts were born, growing out of a conversation I had 2 years ago with one of my closest friends about my ongoing newsletters. It pleases me greatly that in a couple of weeks I'll deliver my 100th episode to you. Week by week and month by month, they've been adding up, and the responses I'm receiving from those of you who hear them are all the encouragement I need to keep going. On my way here, I pulled off the main highway and crossed the high desert as has become my habit. Stopping in that vast stillness under an infinite expanse of deep blue sky, I listen to the silence and discover what wonders await me. This year was no exception, and I was offered a magical surprise. As the fragrance of the cedars came to me on the breeze, I was reminded that I'm in a sacred place and that it's good for me to slow down and to be even more present than usual. After drinking that in, I spoke a quiet prayer in a ceremonial way, took out my flute, and began to play to the 4 directions, each in turn. When something darted across my peripheral vision, I looked up to see a diminutive, broad-billed hummingbird at the back end of my car, its iridescent blues and greens radiant in the morning sunlight. It hovered there a while, and then flew in my direction, circling me as I continued playing. Then it shot away and returned again, circling me once more. I took its presence as a reminder to stay in the here and now, to let go of the past, and to set aside my concerns for the future. After all, it's only in the present, moment by precious moment, that we live our lives. When I finished playing, the bird flew off and I continued on my way, where I soon dropped down into the mountain valley that leads to a tiny village established in 1808. Nestled beside the Pecos River and lined with cottonwoods and Russian olives and willow trees, it remains one of my very favorite places. In many ways, when I'm there, I feel like I've gone back to a quieter and simpler time. It's a drive I never hurry, pausing occasionally to take pictures for future paintings, or to simply stand still and be with what is. From there, I made my way first to Santa Fe, and then to Taos, watching rain clouds as they drifted over the Rio Grande Gorge off to the west. It's been a blessedly wet year in New Mexico, and wildflowers are growing in such profusion as I've never seen them before. And everywhere I look, I see butterflies and dragonflies. As I made my way through Taos, it was Saturday and the streets were teeming with visitors. I smiled as I recognized that my pace was being slowed down even more. Once on the mountain, I took my time as I settled in. It wasn't long before I had my watercolor kit out and did a small painted sketch of the little hummingbird, It serves as a study for a larger version, as well as for a much larger one in oil when I'm back in my studio in Fort Worth. My first night in the cabin was spent quietly alone, affording me the time I needed to downshift and to settle more and more into myself. I'm always moved and comforted by the sound of what someone recently called whisper wind, as it moves through the tall pines and spruces that surround the cabin. I ended that evening watching the sunset from the west-facing deck just outside my room on the cabin's upper floor. As it grew dark, a bird chirped its single sweet note again and again from somewhere close by. I thought of the hummingbird's visit in the desert and smiled. On my second day, friends began to arrive, and after our welcoming embraces, we fell into our now familiar pattern of quiet and unhurried conversation. That by itself is an amazing gift. As the others talked, I sat at my place at one end of the large dining table in the main room, casually working on a larger version of the hummingbird painting. The whole time, I was thinking about how blessed I am to be here in this place, to be able to share such meaningful time with soulful friends, to be loved and accepted as I am, and to have the life I'm living. Those thoughts led me to still deeper contemplation, and a growing set of questions kept coming back to me. I'll let them serve as this week's beautiful questions. 1. If I died tomorrow, what will have truly mattered in my life, and what contribution will I have made? 2. Knowing that each moment in life is extremely precious, what people and what things matter the most to me right now? 3. How may I be more fully present in meaningful ways with what matters the most? And 4. What must I do on a daily basis to keep my heart as fully open as I can, balancing what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I'm doing? My answers to each of these questions necessarily fold back into what it means to be authentic and present, living as compassionately and intentionally as I'm able in the moment. I don't know what could possibly matter more. As your own answers and your own relevant questions arise, I'd love to hear about them. As I said in the beginning, such questions as these have within them the power to help us live more effectively and to live more useful lives. For each of us, that truly matters. As I say each week, my light with your light. Thank you again for listening. I continue to be inspired by our collaboration as we work and play together, building better lives and better possibilities for ourselves, for one another, for the world, and for our beautiful planet home. I always look forward to your comments and your feedback. You can be further inspired by visiting my good friends at Cosmos Journal, including their online newsletter. That's KOSMOS Journal. Their mission is to inform, inspire, and engage global transformation in harmony with all life. You can easily find them online at cosmosjournal.org. And you can find my free podcasts and guided relaxation audios by searching for The Beautiful Question in Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud or CastBox, or by visiting the podcast page of my website at scottlennox.com. If you find them useful or encouraging, don't hesitate to share them. I'm Scott Lennox, and this has been The Beautiful Question. The Beautiful Question is a One Light production, written, recorded, and produced by Scott Lennox at Heart Rock Studios in Fort Worth, Texas, and occasionally Taos, New Mexico, as a way of paying forward to life, being fully present, and becoming better engaged with things that truly matter in a complex world.